Remember the movie Superbad and Jonah Hill's character, and he was talking about a student named Matt Muir and how he was the sweetest guy ever, and when he stared into his eyes, it was like the first time he heard the Beatles. That's Gojo. When I saw Gojo's eyes, it was like the first time I heard the Beatles. I never heard the Beatles before ever in my life, so in my case, it'd be the first time I heard Jodeci. Why is Gojo so beautiful? Why are his eyes that beautiful? You know what? His name is Gorgeous Gojo from here on out. This is the Gorgeous Gojo fan club. I refuse to have my girl look Gojo in his eyes. If Gojo looks my girl in her eyes, my girl is as good as gone. It's over. His eyes are as blue and beautiful as the Bahamas ocean water. There's not much for us to talk about on this episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, except for the fact that Gojo probably has one of the most broken abilities I've ever seen in anime. Like, from it's called Infinity, and from what I gathered from it, like just seeing it, he's basically manipulating space. That's the I think that's what they described it as. But at first I thought it was just a force field around him and then nobody can really touch him. But really what it is like he's a walking like black hole, basically. And Gojo is just straight up OP. There's no way around. This dude is OP. And the crazy part is that on that episode, the current episode or the latest episode, is that I probably only saw a tenth of what he's capable of. Like he was going against the guy Jogo, I think that's how you think that was his name, with the volcano head, and you know he was basically fighting down to his competition, so he didn't really need to do much. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that I probably only saw like a tenth of his power, like that's insane. Because if he's able to manipulate space, there has to be levels to that. Like so, all in all, that dude is frightening. Like just as a character, regardless if he's a villain or he's a good guy. Like his his abilities are literally boundless and like limitless because it deals with space and time. If you have any type of power that deals in space and time, oh, you bad. You a bad mother. Infinity, it basically means there's no limit. So I'm assuming that there is really no limit to Gojo's power, because the way he was explaining it, which makes him even more OP. He was explaining his power mid ass whooping, or he was about to whoop dude ass, but he was letting them know what his power was mid fight. Like, yo, he was literally hands on, literally put his hand out, hands on. Like, hey, this is how I'm going to kill you. So I'm gonna let you know what infinity means. And it seems like it's basically like how can I put it in like math terms? Like when you divide any number, theoretically none of them truly equals zero. Gojo basically represents zero. So let's say you're from like, and here's 10, and you're trying to get, you can get right here, but as soon as you get the 0 or 1, there's that barrier right there. That's the infinity right there. And that, if that power is, I don't know if there's any power or ability in anime that's more broken than that. Let me know in the comments if there's. I know there's a character in JoJo that has like a straight OP power. You got Trafalgar Law from One Piece. His power is broken. Like that's crazy. But like with that ability, Infinity, it's almost as if the closer you get to Gojo, the slower you become. So it's like he always has a head start on you. He always has one step ahead of you, no matter how powerful you may be or how fast you may be. And that's frightening, bruh. But that small space, that little space between his hand And Jogo's hand is literally infinity, like infinite. They're so that that is literally like a black hole just in that small space, and that is crazy. Another thing that I like gained from this episode is that like Gojo is a dark kind of guy. Like the way he ripped off Jogo's head was scary as shit. And after I calmed down from screaming with joy running around my room because that was just so that was gangster, is that I instantly I want to know his past. His past has to be straight dark as a motherfucker, and it has to be crazy because on one hand, you see him talk about killing all the higher ups, and then the other hand, you see him being very goofy, very open, and kind of like carefree. There's something truly frightening about Gojo that hasn't been revealed yet, obviously in the anime, and I don't know. I know his past has to be horrific. He has to have had a horrific past, and I just want to know where did he get that ability from? Like that again, time and space and the ability to be able to manipulate it. That is almost god tier like ability right there. You know what I'm saying? But after seeing him pull off Jogo's head like a soda cap, like it just it just verified that he's also very cool, but he's also very chilling also. The even though he had the prettiest eyes prettier than Zach Morris, the it still looks scary when he grabbed the top of this man's head or Curse's head and just ripped it off. Like he made he made decapitation look poetic. Which leads me to my next point. I want to know I'm interested to see what the purpose is of his blindfold. I'm assuming his eyes have to be some type of asset that he's protecting. I'm assuming. Is it because his eyes are sensitive? Is it a training technique? I just want to know where the blindfold comes into play now. Since he took off the blindfold once he got into his domain. And I'm wondering like, yo, like so his eyes play a huge role, I'm assuming, in his curse energy and his overall ability. That's what I'm assuming. But I can't wait to see I just can't wait to see what we can uncover about Gojo. Gojo is literally the most interesting character on here. Speaking of domains, let's get into that. So the domain fighting style is really interesting since we kind of seen it in display in an actual battle in this episode, where from what I took from it is that with the domain system is going to be kind of hard to power scale in this show if that's the fighting system that everybody's fighting with, because once you enter someone's domain extension, you're supposed to be powerless, where you have to take hits. I think that's how Gojo explained it, where you have to take hits, and it's kind of reminds me of like a game breaker in NBA Street. If you get into somebody's domain, it's a wrap. Just like Gojo told Yuji, like, hey, at that penitentiary or that jail, that domain was incomplete. But but that's because that special curse was kind of like, slow. But if that was an actual completed domain, y'all would have been dead. Period. And I think only special grades and above can do domain extensions. So I'm not expecting Yuji to do it, or even Megami, or any of the other students to already know how to do a domain extension. And but you can't dodge your opponent's attacks in them, and you just have to take damage. And Gojo is clearly OP, so that doesn't apply to him. As you saw, he took Jogo's attacks in Jogo's domain, and then said, all right, let's go to my domain, and I'm about to behead you. But I like how it's based on the domains. That the domains are based on like the person's power. So as you saw in Jogo's domain, it was like magma and fire everywhere. And then as you saw in Gojo's domain, it was literally like It was a void. Yeah, he did say it was a void, I think. And it was kind of like a black hole, and it dealt with power, space and time. So whatever their, I guess that character's calling card is, that is going to be their domain, which made the end of the episode interesting because the guy, one of the villains with the stitched up forehead, he walked into a domain, but that domain was a beach. And the guy who, the villain at the end of this episode, he had like the two different color eyes, and he kind of had like a stitched up face also. Like, what is his power? Was that his domain? You know what I'm saying? I think that was his domain. And if he has a domain as a beach, that makes it very interesting. Like, what would be the base of his power? And I don't know. I like that though. That had to be a domain. How he opened up the door from one world, walked into the beach. That was a that had to be that character's domain. But yeah, that was the episode for real. Like, only thing that I think I left out was the fact that Gojou can literally teleport because again, his power deals with space and time. So he mid fight went and grabbed Yuji, came back just like that. And then the animation in the fight, beautiful. Like, this might have been the best episode so far. And we only saw maybe a tenth of this man's power. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see all the students grow and see what their powers are and what domains they're going to have, and like once it gets really really serious. And then of course we had Yuji's actually learning how to control cursed energy pretty quickly, so that's dope too. But overall, great episode. Soundtrack, animation, everything was on 10. I love it. What did y'all think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you love it? Let me know down in the comments. Man, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. I am Benny. I am out. Thank you. All praise, gorgeous Gojou. I'm out.